And now to our first conversation. Artificial intelligence is no longer just a futuristic concept. It's already transforming industries, changing how businesses operate, and reshaping economies around the world. In Nigeria, AI is finding practical applications in agriculture, healthcare, financial services, and education. But while the opportunities are enormous, major barriers remain, from unreliable power supply and limited internet access to the shortage of local computing infrastructure and AI models that could truly understand, Nigerian languages. Joining me now is David Taiwo Balogun, as also a data scientist, joining me right here in the studio for this conversation. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Laddie. It's good to be here.
Fantastic. So, looking at Nigeria's AI readiness, now we see a population of about 240 million people, internet subscriptions, 151.6 million, broadband penetration, I believe that's an improvement of about 55.67%, smartphone penetration, 62 to 65%. Let's not even talk about the cost of a smartphone at this time. That's another story, with the weakness of the Naira. Mobile data costs about 30 cents for about 0.45 gig. Average power supply, 8 to 10 hours per day. Commercial data centers, that's about 30 plus at this point. Looking at this data now, are we ready for artificial intelligence?
Yeah, thank you for having me here once again. So looking at this data, to be honest, I don't think we are ready. But I think one thing we have to note is we are making deliberate efforts, right? And this is leading towards improvement. And I'm going to be starting with the power supply, right? So looking at the power supply and the whole recent development we'll be having, right? All thanks to solar power, and everyone is trying to find a means of getting power in their residence, office, and all that. And we can say that are kind of leapfrogs, right? In terms of improvement, we're having kind of improvement, and also in terms of the capacity of the, the guys providing power supply, right? It's kind of increased over time. And when we look at commercial data center, it can be better, if you ask me. And recently, all thanks to MTN recently had a new data center, and I think we have to climb on having data centers across Africa. And one of the major limitation we would have is we don't have localized data. When I mean localized data, in terms of having data for Africans within Africa, right? So we can use this in development of our AI development and all that. So we don't have to just ship ready-made product from Western world into our own ecosystem, right? A perfect example is, the likes of ChatGPT and all that. If we can have it localized, where I can just use some AI system that can tell me or interpret my local dialect for me 100% accurate, right? We need to work in that also. One other thing again I will speak on is the smartphone penetration. In as much as 62%, it can be better, 62 to 65%. It can be better in the sense that not everyone is having access to mobile device, right? And the cost you kind of, in acquiring one of these is very, very high.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because there was a time you could get a, high-end, mobile phone for about 300,000 naira.
Yeah, 300.
But that has changed.
It has changed.
Now we're seeing about 2 million to 3 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
One important thing again is we kind of seen some fintech, trying to do a model of pay small, or even when you go to Computer Village, for instance, you see some of these guys selling devices over there. They will tell you, pay a bulk payment, maybe like 20% or 30%, and you pay over time, right? In as much that is also good, and it's also kind of encouraging people to own more mobile device. It can also be better. And in terms of broadband penetration, this is a very, very good one. And I think over time we've seen improvement in our broadband penetration. One of the major challenge we're having now is all these local area, right? So if you can have a means of penetrating into it, where you can, take your phone and call someone in a village in Ogbomoso or somewhere in, remote villages, literally. And one important one again, I think I would want to mention here is the mobile data cost. It's still very high, to be honest.
Yeah, about 30 cents.
Yeah, it's still very, very high. It's still very, very high. Right? So if we can have a way of beating it down or bringing it down, one of the issues we've seen over time, I get to mentor and teach people also in the data and AI space. And one of the feedback I get from my students most times is data is expensive, to be honest, right? So someone who is trying to afford to eat 3 times in a day sometimes will struggle to buy internet on the phone.
You have to factor in data.
You have to factor in data, right? When you speak to university students, they most times want to look for free Wi-Fi because they don't have internet. So these are issues we have to also deal with.
Okay, so let's look at where use cases, real world use cases right here in Nigeria. We've heard, about agriculture. AI, we're seeing solutions there. Banking, that one is a given, at this point. What other sectors are you seeing artificial intelligence?
So one of the important sector I think you mentioned already is in the banking, in the finance space. We've seen it predominantly, and also in the agricultural space. Last week I was privileged to present a paper at the University of Ibadan where I spoke on CNN, right? So trying using CNN model to be able to detect disease in pests and crops, right? So one of the objective or one of the key takeaway from the paper basically is we've been able to develop some of these solutions, but one of the major things we have to do is in terms of deployment, right? So as a farmer, you can go into your farm and using all these devices, you can easily detect anomalies in your plants, right? So you don't have to manually start going through the plant or trying to track and notice the type of diseases, right? So if it's a kind of disease, you can easily know the, prevention or the cure you can kind of put into it, right? One other interesting part we are seeing is the health sector, right? So in the health sector, we've seen a big shift. I don't have to go to the hospital literally to, there's the telemedicine. I can just stay in my house, open my app, tell the prompt what I think is wrong with me in terms of my symptoms thereabout. It's going to tell me what I need to do and if I need to go to the hospital thereabout, right? So these are improvements, right? And also one important sector I think we would need to talk about also is in the logistics sector, right? So we've seen AI penetrating it. We've kind of not seen it predominantly in Africa, but when you go to more developed country, you'd see robots going to deliver goods, right? There's a company in Germany, forgotten the name. They kind of use AI system, right, to robots to deliver goods. So you don't have to go into delivery hero, in Germany. You don't have to go into the store. You don't have to go there. You can just make use of a prompt, and AI is going to bring it to you out. So one of the other things we need to do basically in Africa is to make sure we are embracing AI. So we kind of passing law that kind of embracing AI, and we can
right. And I'm guessing investment spending also has to come.
Yeah.
We're seeing the likes of Google actually forecasting that they're going to spend more capital expenditure on AI. Even the likes of Tesla too, and they're saying, you know what? Don't worry about what we're spending. Don't worry about what we're going to make, from this spend so far. But we have to make this investment. Well, I guess we'll keep tracking this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
David Taiwo, Balogun, data scientist. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. It's great to have me here.
Fantastic.
Yeah.